Welcome to Health Equation. What is health equation? Doctors in the United States researched healthy humans that have achieved an age of more than 100 years and that had little or no illness during this time. From this research, a mathematical equation was formulated that describes good health, and it is called the health equation. We analyze the body chemistry of a person by making measurements on only two types of samples from the body, namely urine and saliva, and we do not need to do an invasive blood test. We then compare this person's results to the health equation for good health, and we calculate what corrections need to be made to bring the health equation of the person to within the range of the health equation that describes good health. We do not cure any illnesses, but we provide all the tools needed to build a very effective framework on which to build a successful weight loss program, a successful beauty program with much slower aging, a successful academic program, a successful sport program, and a healthy body that stays disease-free for a longer lifetime. When we analyze the health equation of a person's body chemistry, we make use of a range and zone chart. There are 5 zones of the body chemistry that we test for, namely the carbohydrates, the pH, the conductivity, the cell waste, and the ureas. When we look at the pH, the urine pH is on the left of the pH zone and also at the top in the health equation, and the saliva pH is on the right of the pH zone and at the bottom of the health equation. When we look at the urea numbers, we measure the nitrate nitrogen and display it at the top of the health equation, and the ammonium nitrogen, which is displayed at the bottom of the health equation. In the urea zone, these two numbers are added together and displayed as one number. This chart is also divided into 5 ranges numbered from A to E, where the A range is the ideal range for good health. All the numbers for the various zones start with their minimum at the bottom and increase to their maximum at the top, and you will see that the ideal numbers for the health equation in zone A is 1.5 for carbohydrates, 6.4 for the urine pH, and 6.4 for the saliva pH, 6.5 for conductivity, 0.04 for the cell waste, 3 for the nitrate nitrogen, and 3 for the ammonium nitrogen. If you look at the A range describing ideal health, you will see that although the ideal number for the carbohydrates is 1.5, it can swing between 1.2 and 2, and the same goes for the other numbers. This is called the swing range of the numbers in range A. We will now look at each of these 5 zones and see what happens to the body chemistry in all the ranges. In the carbohydrates zone, the carbohydrate number has the greatest effect on the overall conscious and subconscious feeling of well-being than any other number in the equation, because blood oxygen levels are directly affected by the carbohydrate levels. If the blood carbohydrate falls below 1.2, the oxygen levels in the blood will be reduced. When the blood carbohydrate goes above 5.49, oxygen levels are also reduced, but the overall effect is not the same. When the blood carbohydrates are between 2 and 5.49, the oxygen levels are actually higher, but it is unavailable to the body. When the oxygen goes high or low, there is a decrease in calcium in the body chemistry, because it interferes with the liver's ability to pick up calcium, and it affects 2 important organs, the brain and the liver. So to have proper oxygen levels maintained in the blood carbohydrate must remain between 1.2 and 2, and ideally at 1.5. Low carbohydrate causes a drop in body temperature, resulting in acute indigestion and a change in mental response that can be severe, showing as fatigue, mood swings, depression, and headaches. A low carbohydrate number can be increased by increasing the intake of food with higher carbohydrate levels. On the other hand, a high blood carbohydrate lets the body convert the excess carbohydrates into alcohol, increasing the body temperature leading to sweating more easily, skin problems, kidney stones and headaches. A high carbohydrate number can be lowered by eating foods with less carbohydrates, drinking the prescribed lemon water routine and green drink routine, as well as the prescribed digestive enzymes. In the pH zone, a urine and saliva sample is analyzed and a scale of pH values is used as a basis for comparison. The scale is set from 0 to 14, with 7 as the midpoint or neutral. This scale is based on two reference substances where pure sulfuric acid represents the extreme acid or cationic end of the scale with a pH of 0, and pure calcium represents the extreme on the other end, which is alkaline or anionic with a pH of 14. The best pH level for biologic life seems to be 6.4. At this resistance point, the best electrical current flow in the body is produced, which in turn produces the best magnetism for picking up the molecular mineral structure, linking into the liver and constructing enzymes with it, releasing energy from the food at the correct frequency of the body. When the pH moves above or below 6.4 because of a lack of the very important mineral calcium, the magnetism is not correct for picking up the molecular mineral structure, resulting in mineral energy on the wrong frequency which cannot be picked up by the body. The more anionic the average pH becomes as the pH increases, the slower the digestion will become up to the point of constipation, and with increasing lung and respiratory stress and increasing presence of parasites. The more cationic the average pH becomes as the pH decreases, the faster the digestion will become up to the point of diarrhea, with increasing presence of fungus and increasing bone mineral loss in the direction of osteoporosis. When there is a large spread between the urine pH and the saliva pH, the initial digestive reaction of the stomach is very eruptive, producing a lot of gas causing bloating. The stomach will empty quite rapidly, resulting in incomplete processing of food, causing the person to get hungry soon after eating. A collection of pure vitamins and pure calciums is used to correct the urine and saliva pH to the ideal number. In the conductivity zone, conductivity is a measure of the ability of a substance to conduct an electrical current. The body is designed to operate at certain current levels. When the current goes too high or too low, certain effects will be produced that will eventually result in the symptoms of degeneration. When the salts in the body are high, the conductivity increases, causing the current to be high. Cells in the blood start sticking together, causing the viscosity or thickness of the blood to increase. This is called coagulation or agglutination. And the best known coagulation byproduct is cholesterol, causing arteriosclerosis, known as hardening of the arteries. When coagulation of cholesterol takes place in arteries, the vessel will become more and more rigid and lose its elasticity. So the heart has to beat harder to get the blood through the circulatory system. This gives rise to high blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. A rupture of blood vessels in the head is much more likely, resulting in a stroke. The area of the body that stores more salt than anywhere else is the abdominal cavity, which is the area around the intestines. This is one of the contributing factors to abdominal distension, also known as pot belly. High salt levels contribute to reverse osmosis, which is fluid movement in the reverse direction of what it should be if operating healthily. This causes lubricating fluids to be pulled out of the joints, causing joint stiffness and various types of arthritis. High conductivity can be eliminated by consuming less salt, as well as enough distilled water from the prescribed water routine, as well as getting the necessary amount of proper calcium to produce enzymes, which will work to deactivate the excess salt in order to assist the kidneys in the elimination of these salts. On the other extreme of current flow, when the conductivity is low, the messages in the body are interfered with substantially, or are not able to get through. Hence, the individual will be increasingly slow, mentally and physically, and have difficulty with coordination. Conductivity can be increased by adding more salt to food. In the cell waste zone, the cell waste is the dead and dying cells in the urine that the body is getting rid of in its continuous process of rebuilding the body. The kidneys get rid of more solid waste than any other organ of the body, and a person in good health urinates out enough solid waste equal to the body weight every 6 months. The ideal cell waste number for a person in good health should be 0.04 m, where m represents million. Therefore, 0.04 m means 40,000 cell waste particles per liter of urine for every 50 kilograms of body weight. Since a liter contains about 20,000 drops, then each drop contains 2 particles of cell waste. There are several things that can be assumed from the cell waste number. Firstly, the higher the number, the faster the body is breaking down, or the faster the body is aging. Secondly, when the rest of the test figures are away from the ideal range and the cell waste number is 4m or greater, on the first test it shows that nature is at least cooperating. That is, nature is attempting to keep up with the removal of cells that are no longer functioning within the proper frequency ratio of energy exchange in the body. Thirdly, if the rest of the test figures are away from range A and the cell waste number is less than 4m, then there is an indication that the body is not able to get rid of the dead cells and that there could be a buildup of dead cells in the system. Fourthly, while on the program and the cell waste number is dropping below 4m, it is an indication that the body is not completely cooperating. When the body is cooperating, the cell waste number will remain at least 4m or above, which means nature is cooperating in throwing out and replacing worn-out cells throughout the tissues and organs. In the urea zone, proper digestion provides usable energy that is on the frequency of the body. But if there is a lack of water, oxygen and calcium in the body, it results in improper digestion, and the energy released will be on the wrong frequency and not usable by the body. This unusable energy is treated as though it were toxic by the part of the liver that is responsible for detoxifying any chemical waste and converts it into non-toxic insoluble urea. This urea is, however, only non-toxic for up to 72 hours, and after that it breaks down into soluble urea salts of nitrate nitrogen and ammonium nitrogen. In improper quantities, these salts are unhealthy because it increases the conductivity of the body chemistry. Nitrate nitrogen comes from excess properly and improperly digested proteins in the daily food. Ammonium nitrogen comes from the detoxification of proteins staying in the body too long and other breakdown products of cell metabolism, as well as the breakdown of the tissues themselves due to the aging process. The urea number is the sum of both the nitrate and ammonium number, and the ideal urea number is 3 plus 3, or 6. This is only ideal when all the other numbers are ideal. If you look at the chart in the column for ureas, you will see that the range of potential urea levels extends from 0 to 30. While on the health equation program, the proper range to keep the urea number in is 12 to 19. But for a person that is overweight, the urea number should not go below 15. And for a person of normal weight, the urea number should not go below 12, because a potassium deficiency situation will then be created. Potassium deficiencies will produce symptoms similar to those of low blood carbohydrate, and it tends to make the low carbohydrate symptoms worse. Potassium deficiencies then make it almost impossible to get the blood carbohydrate to regulate properly because of the impaired communication between the brain and the organ, because potassium is necessary for proper nerve message transmission. When the urea number on the first test gets into the hot stress zone between 20 and 30, the blood starts to thicken, putting the heart under a greater load as it tries to pump the thickened blood through the vessels, especially small vessels, leading to symptoms of cardiovascular disease. While on the program, if the ureas go into the hot stress zones, this does not mean the heart is under stress. This is only a temporary situation. In fact, while on the program, we keep the first 3 numbers, carbohydrates, pH, and conductivity, as close to ideal as possible, with the last 2 numbers, cell waste and the ureas, in the high range. To summarize, the health equation gives you the tools to learn how your body reacts to what you do with it, and then you can adjust your lifestyle to keep your numbers in the range for ideal health, where no disease can exist. It should be clear that with a little knowledge and effort, uncomfortable situations such as constipation can be solved easily. Debilitating diseases such as arthritis and cardiovascular disease, including stroke, can be completely prevented by a little more knowledge and effort. The Health Equation program is also the ideal weight loss program because calcium helps to keep the weight off. Research suggests that if you don't get enough calcium in your diet, you are likely to be overweight. The reason has to do with your body's response to a calcium deficit. When you are low in calcium, your body thinks you are starving and enters emergency mode, releasing parathyroid hormone. This hormone stimulates your bones to release some calcium into your bloodstream. In addition, your kidneys also deliver a dose of hormone called calcitriol, a form of vitamin D, to increase your ability to absorb calcium. The trouble is that parathyroid hormone and calcitriol also stimulate the production of fat and inhibit its breakdown. As a result, your body stores fat and holds onto it stubbornly, even if you are on a low-calorie diet. On the other hand, a high calcium intake suppresses these hormones, so your body stores less fat and also breaks it down easily. This high calcium intake also suppresses any cravings for sweet things, especially after meals. So the Health Equation program paves the way for any other weight loss program to be successful.